All right, we are back, and now we're going to focus on the text to audio generation. We never did audio to text because we just never had time. And Duan eliminated that problem by finding that we had transcripts, so we didn't need to do it. Should we do it for practice? Maybe, but we don't have to do that really right now because we have a working app. So what I'm thinking here is that what I want is I want the audio to be generated, right? And so what we should do before we do that is we should store the history somewhere. So we'll go here and just say like, in our app, it generates questions, but we don't save our generated questions. Can we separately store them? Not in the vector database, not in the vector store, but just a way so we can select previous generated questions. Maybe they are listed in the sidebar chat. In the sidebar as an item list to load an old one. Okay, and we'll see if it can do that. Because if we have that, then if we have it, then we can then focus on generating the audio for each one, right? I've added a feature to store the generated questions as JSON files and add a sidebar to load previous questions. Let me modify that. We'll see what it does. All right, let's come back and take a look here. So it's suggesting that it did implement that. We'll take a look at the open diff here. And so yeah, load the stored questions. It's doing this right in the main.py, and I guess that's okay. Question generator, current question, feedback. Okay, we'll take a look here. I'm not sure if that looks right to me, but we'll find out here in just a moment. So I'll go back over to this. We'll give it a nice hard refresh. We'll take a look. No saved questions. Okay, so we'll go ahead here and generate a new one. See what we get. So now we have it. We'll choose the correct one. It's whatever, that doesn't work. We'll give it a refresh. And now we can go back to this one, which is really nice. So now we can always go back here and try this as many times as we want. So that's pretty sweet. We'll go back here and it clears it out. I would say now that this is done and we have this history, we can now go and, well, first let's stop it and start it and make sure it still works, because I'm not sure if I trust it. So we'll go ahead and stop and start that. But if that is in good shape, then what we'll do here, let's hard refresh here. I'm going to drop this down and generate a new one. Okay, and so we'll give this a hard refresh. And so now we have the history of those. I wish it was going in other descending order, but that's totally fine. Now we need to figure out this audio feature. So we'll go back over to here. I'm so surprised how much we can Windsurf to do. But I want to commit this because I'm happy with that. So we'll go here and we will stage this. This will save the previously generated questions. Okay, and so we'll have that. So the next thing I want is I want it so that I can generate out the audio, right? For the generated questions, we need to generate out an audio file. So in the main.py for the audio section, there should be a button to generate an audio playback, right? We should create a new separate backend file that will be responsible for generating the audio. It will need to use LLM, Amazon Bedrock, Nova to generate out, to convert the audio, the generate question into a format that we can then format so that there are multiple speakers. We have the person that reads we have the announcer that reads the question, that does the intro and asks the questions after the conversation part. We might have multiple speakers in the conversation. We should use Amazon Polly for multiple Japanese voices. The voices should be matched based on gender. We should use FFmpeg to stitch, to generate, to combine each parts into final audio file that we can then play after generation in the main.py. Okay, so there we go. That's what we wanted to do. That's a lot of information. I don't know if it can do it, but we'll see what it can do. So there's making an audio generator. But I've had a lot of success just generating out code to do this. And in my hidden repo, I've already done this before, where I've made a podcast where I chose key vocabulary and I just had it make a story for me to listen to when I'm driving. So that is really, really useful. But we'll see what it comes up with here, and we'll just wait a bit, okay? It wanted me to create the audio folder, so I had to do that. And we'll just let it keep going. And I still keep going. Keep going. I don't know why it's doing that. Look, we already have Bodo 3 installed. So I'm going to have to stop it here. It doesn't seem to know what it's doing. I mean, I might not have FFmpeg installed, so we might have to take a look at that. But that's pretty easy to install here. So we will do that, yep. And it wants my password, which is fine. Type that in real quick here. There we go. Yep, we'll see, yep. FFmpeg is pretty easy on Linux to install. But that's what's responsible for, it can do video and audio, but it's going to be handling our audio here. So now it's going ahead here, and now that that's installed, it's going to continue on. We're just going to keep paying attention. If there's something interesting, I will unpause here and show it. All right, let's read what we have here. So I've made several improvements for the audio system generation, enhanced conversation parsing, better structures for identifying speakers, better parsing for this, better file organization. I mean, like, it was still doing it. Generating a new question UI with the generate button, audio. Let's go take a look and see what it did. So it's in a class, and I mean, that's how I like to have things. And here we can see some voices. We do have a little bit of a limit of voices. So that can be a little bit of a concern. I think it should use an announcer voice that's not being used. So I would prefer that. But that's the problem, is we have a limit of voices, so there's not much we can do about that. There might be another one, another level, but it won't be, the quality won't be as good. Choosing Anthropic Claude. Why does it keep doing that? Okay. You know, I said to use Nova, like Amazon Nova model, and you used Claude. Okay, and so we're going to see if we can help it to correct that issue there. Yeah. Parse the GLPT question in the format for introduction. Use the announcer as a speaker. Keep these as separate. Identify each person as that. Normally in the JLPT, it's a female speaker, and I bet we could probably take that voice. We don't have permission to do that, but we could take that voice and generate it out to make it sound more like it, which would be interesting. Format each part exactly like this: speaker, name, gender, male, female. And so it's producing out this formatted text down below, and then I assume that we're going to parse it, and that's exactly what it's doing. So generate out each audio part, and then use FFmpeg to stitch together, and then generate out the audio. So as long as it uses light, or not micro but light, I think it'll be able to handle that. Did it swap it out? What? Okay, look. Amazon Nova Pro, not Titan Text. Okay. See chat as an example. And please use Converse API. Okay, so we're going to have to help it out there because it's being a little bit silly. And again, invoke model does make sense because it's for single turn action, but I just don't want to deal with the formatting. Yeah, there we go. So let's give it a second to generate. All right, I made the following changes. Do we need a test audio to do that? Sure, why not? I'm a bit confused because it's over here. I guess we can do that. Oops, I see the issue. We're using the wrong Nova model ID. We need to specify the engine for poly, so it's going to go ahead and update that. And we'll give it a moment. And here it's saying use neural engine voices. It doesn't have to. Like, there's different levels of voices that Poly has, and neurals are technically the best sounding ones. We'll go ahead and update that one. But, you know, I would probably go and just evaluate them all and see which ones I want to use on Amazon Bedrock, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, it's going to try to make those changes there. I'm not sure why it's doing it that way, but okay, run the scan. Output looks good. I like how it shows it here. We ran into oh no, test complete. You can use your audio file now here. So if I go over to questions, we'll refresh this. Audio. Oh, it's over here. I guess it's fine if it wants to put it there. Probably made more sense in the data folder, but
次の会話を聞いて、質問に答えてください。すみません。この電車は新宿駅に止まり。
So let me go up here. Actually sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go back here and listen.
次の会話を聞いて、質問に答えてください。すみません。この電車は新宿駅に止まりますか？
はい、次の駅が新宿です。
ありがとうございます。何分くらいかかりますか？
そうですね、5分くらいです。
新宿駅まで何分かかりますか？正解は5分です。
So the challenge here is that because there's no ding, I can't really tell when there's the difference then, and the problem is the voice is the same. So let's go over to Amazon Bedrock not Amazon Bedrock, but we'll go over to Poly for a moment, and let's see what voices we have available. Because we really need to have it so that we don't have this issue. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to tell what we're listening to. So if we go, we have generative long-form neural, produces more natural sounding speech, produces the most expressive and adaptive using speech. If we go here, we don't have any for Japanese, right? So it doesn't have it. It has Spanish, which is great. For us, not that great. So we'll go over to Japanese, and the Japanese sounds okay. For a Japanese listener, it's probably a bit different. And we only have 3 voices available. If we go to standard, we have fewer here. We have long form. For Japanese, we don't have any. So you can see there's some limitations in terms of what we can utilize. And so this is a bit of a challenge. And this is where, you know, maybe we might want to leverage multiple providers so that we have more diversity of voices. But I would just say that I wish we had that ding sound. So we'll say JLPT N5 ding noise. And so that's one challenge I think we'll have here. So I probably want to go get that ding because I think that would help a lot to distinguish what's going on to improve our stuff. So what I'm going to do is go over to, back over to, well, hold on here. I think I still have it somewhere here. Take a look here. Yeah, over here. And so let's take a listen to that ding. So I'm going to go back a little bit
で
here.
は、答えはこのように書きます。では、始めます。
1番、
デパートで、男の人と店の人が話しています。男の人はどこへ行きますか？
すみません。
So they don't do a ding. Well, the problem is that, this is when you have a series of questions listening, and they don't do a ding in between it. So basically, we have a bit of a challenge there. So I'm going to go and just tell it can you make a larger pause between the conversation, the intro, the conversation, and the question, because the voices are too similar or reused. We can't distinguish the announcer, so a greater pause might help. Okay, because that's all we can do. If you want to go the extra mile and try to include another provider like Google or Azure, assuming Azure has generation of Japanese voices, and to have a larger, or whatever your target language, to have a wider range, or this might be a less issue if you're in a different target language. That's something you can do. But yeah, this is a little bit of a problem for me because of the limited voice options that we have here. And so all it's going to do is add pauses, so that should be pretty darn easy for it to do. We'll give it a moment there to figure that out. Shouldn't take too long, really. It's just very simple spaces. But it did a really good job. What's really interesting is it has this all in Japanese. Here I have the rule for the announcer and whatever. It's fine. We could have it in English and tell it to do the translation, but we'll see what happens here. So we'll go generate this out. And now it's generated out a different one. I think it's always going to be the same one because it's fixed. If we go back to test audio, it's always this scenario, yeah. Add a 2-second pause. So we'll go back over to our static generation. And I'll listen.
次の会話を聞いて、質問に答えてください。すみません。この電車は新宿駅に止まりますか？
はい、次の駅が新宿。
次の会話を聞いて、質問に答えてください。すみません。この電車は、
There was no pause. So I'll delete that. Maybe it didn't replace the file. We'll try that again. Or maybe it's this one right here. I think maybe we had the wrong file. Yeah, so now we have two. I'm not sure which is the latest one, but we'll try this one.
次の会話を聞いて、質問に答えてください。すみません。この電車。
That's perfect, right? And, if we had a little ding or something, we could kind of distinguish that, even though that's not what the JLPT exam would do. But in this restricted way, it might work. I'm just going to switch my desk to standing mode here. I've been sitting for way too long. Okay. Almost. There we go. And so now I'm in standing mode. So what I would say here is that, we are generating out the audio, so that's perfect. Now the question is, would it work on the other side? So if we go over to here and we run our, I don't want to do that. We'll run this here. The only thing is I don't like is putting in this weird directory, but I guess we can kind of forgive that for now. If it has to serve the audio, that actually kind of makes sense why it might actually have it over there, because otherwise it would have to do some extra work to grab it. So now that I'm thinking about it, it actually makes sense that it put it there. We're going to go over to, is it here? Yeah. We'll give this a nice refresh here. And so I'm hoping what we can do is go here and generate the audio. It's generating the audio. And we'll go over to here. We'll see what the problem is. Is there a problem? I can't tell. Like, it looks like it's generating out. We'll give this a nice refresh here. Okay, so it looks like it was generating via the main app, but then hung. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Main app catching exception from the audio generator, but is not leading that clean up the temporary files. Let's fix that both here. So maybe there was a problem, and it could have been the LLM generated out, because if the LLM did not generate a proper script and then it tried to generate out the audio, it would fail on that part. So we'll give it a moment to clean that up. And so maybe it'll have better error handling, then it will tell us there's something issue with the LLM generation, assuming it's happening every single time. And then we'll see something there. So we'll give it a moment to generate or fix that stuff. All right, let's give it a read what it did. So in the audio generator, added proper error handling for the combined audio files, adding error checking for this. Made sure temporary files are cleaned up even if errors occur, added more specific error messages. So it did clean up and more error handling. That does not necessarily mean that it's still not erroring out. But if it does error out, hopefully we will see what the problem is. I'm gonna go back over to here, give this a refresh. And it should, oh, maybe there was an issue starting it up. There we go. We'll start it up properly. Go back down over here. We'll give this a refresh. And we'll go back over to here and we'll generate the audio. We'll see what happens. Failed to combine audio files. So we'll go over to here. Okay, so does it make sure that the generated LLM is good before trying to generate audio? Because that's where the point of failure could be, right? That's what I'm thinking. You should validate the LLM output before trying to generate audio. Let me add validation to ensure it. And what it might do, it might just write a regex or to see if any text is there of a particular structure, or it might use another LLM to do it. We didn't really specify as to what it should do. So it's going to do something. I still think it's funny that this is in Japanese as the instructions, but that still works out fine for it. But we'll give it a moment here to figure that out. Okay. Coming back over to here. So it says added a validation conversion parts. All parts exist and properly formatted. First, the speaker is always the announcer. Each part has valid speaker text. I mean, I don't know if that was the issue, but I guess it was starting to do that. And track the speakers. Yeah, it seems a bit convoluted, but this should prevent trying to generate audio with invalid stuff. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and do it this way, as I'd rather just test it in the application itself and see what happens. We'll go back over to here. We'll generate out the audio. It probably will still error out. I mean, at least we're getting errors back. So clearly there's a problem, and that's what I thought. Like, obviously the test audio is fine. It's when it's doing that integration where the problem is. Let me modify the prompt to be more explicit about the gender format to make the parsing more robust. Is that really the problem? I guess it is. We'll give it a moment. Again, I don't know if that's the right approach. It could have used another LM just to confirm it, right? And, you know, if this next fix doesn't work, I might tell, like, hey, use another LM to validate the input, right? And to say it's good before passing it on or to correct it. All right, let's take a look here. Change the prompt to English to be more explicit and added more. Fair enough. But I mean, like, is that really the problem? Okay, but okay, the problem is happening. Okay, this is not, I don't think that's our problem. I think it's an integration problem because it's testing in isolate. So I'll go over to here. I'll try this again. Generate it. And if it fails, we know it's an integration problem. Oh no, never mind. I fixed it. My bad. Let's hear it.
男の人と女の人がショッピングセンターで話しています。このバッグはどれくらいしますか？このバッグは5000円です。他に何かご覧になりたいものがあれば教えてください。赤い靴は在庫ありますか？はい、赤い靴はサイズ7とサイズ8があります。じゃあ、このバッグを購入します。男の人が購入する商品は何ですか？ A バッグ B、靴 C 靴とバッグ D 何も購入しない。
Okay, so it does
選
work.
択肢はピザを食べる、ハンバーガーを
The only thing that I would say, I'm not sure if I was talking about a hamburger. Over here it is. I have to thoroughly look at it, but we now have made it. Few problems. It's all guys talking, right? So there's no more lady voices in here, and so that's kind of a problem. I think that whatever it did, it messed that up. We could probably ask and be like, hey, all I hear is male voices now. We don't really need to fix this, but we can see this. Looking for the test output for female, we're assigned the male gender. Let me fix by assigning that. That's not very helpful for us here. But the other thing is just like there's just a lack of voices, right? And the quality of voices is neural. So I think this is where I would explore other providers and try to get a larger range of voices to be able to speak in here. The generation is, it's really good. So I'm surprised, but we got all the way to the end here, and Nova Pro was fine. Like there was no issues. Well, I would say Nova Pro, but it's specifically Nova Lite, and Nova Micro performed extremely well, extremely fast. So, like we don't have to use Claude for everything. Like it worked fine. Now, obviously, we're using Claude here for more deeper, higher reasoning, but again, Nova Lite was just like unbelievable how well it performed. I was really surprised. So hopefully I can try to fix this. I kind of like hesitant to let it try to fix this because we have a working demo and I just want to wrap this up. The only problem is that this isn't integrated into our platform. So the idea is that if there are keywords here, we'd have to break out the vocabulary and then go ping the Lang portal, say, hey, are these words here? And then do that because our Lang portal requires you to launch a portal. And so maybe, if we were doing study of specific words, we would have to send the words over to this first, and then also include that in the context to actually make it work with Lang Portal. Because right now it makes no sense. I don't want to do it that way. I'll just do it this way here. And because this one's already generated, I'm not really sure if we could regenerate it because it's already generated, right? No, I guess it'll generate every time. And that might be something we might want to do to make it so that it saves it around, it's generated every time, but that's fine. Let's play it.
男の人と女の人がショッピングセンターで話しています。このバッグはどれくらいしますか？このバッグは5000円です。他に何かご覧になりたいものがあれば教えてください。
赤い靴は在庫ありますか？
はい、赤い靴はサイズ7とサイズ8があります。じゃあ、このバッグを購入します。男の人が購入する商品は何ですか？ A バッグ B、靴 C 靴とバッグ D 何も購入しない。
So that's perfect. Okay. We didn't have to stitch it all together. We could have made like each of these play audio separately, and that would also be another way to work around it. But if we're trying to replicate the JLPT, the way it works is that you literally have to listen to this whole thing while doing the grading to get it right. So if we really wanted to replicate this, we would have to make an entire 30-minute thing with all those dings in between and generate the whole thing out. And so that would be a lot more work. And, maybe at some point I will do that. But for now, this is good enough. We have a bit of stitching together. We could have kept them separate for this. But I would say that we're good. And I just want to be done. I just want to be done. So we're going to be done as I've been doing this all day. But we're going to go and grab this. And the only thing we want to do is maybe ignore the static file here. So I'm going to go over to here. And I'm going to make a new file here called .getignore. And we'll say .mp3. Okay, and we'll stop this and we'll go ahead and go back over to here. I'm going to go ahead and add all this stuff in here. Perfect. Sorry, we'll stage this. add audio generation. And we are done. I'm going to push this. And there we go. Would I come back and maybe wrap this up with integration to our site? Maybe, but I got lots to do, so I'm going to just continue on. And if there is extra homework there, I'll go write it in the doc. And yeah, I apologize for the long last video, but I wanted to get it out tonight, which was after the live stream. So literally for me, it's 9:20. So I've been coding in here since 3:30 after the Spanish boot camp. But I'll see you folks soon. Okay, ciao.